Hey there, I'm Travis Patterson, and welcome to Driving Change. Here, you're going to find unfiltered insights and hard-hitting questions that challenge the status quo in law and in life. As a personal injury lawyer in Fort Worth, Texas, I see firsthand how challenges like distracted driving and other just general family safety issues really impact our community every single day. But I refuse to accept these problems as inevitable. In this podcast, we're going to dig deep into real-world problems, bringing you practical solutions from my experiences in practicing law, raising a family, and running my own business. I'm not here to preach to anybody. I'm here to simply ask questions and start conversations that make you think differently and provide you actual advice that you can use right away in your own life. So welcome to Driving Change. Let's get to it. All right, welcome to another episode of the Driving Change podcast. Joined today by the old Tennessee Walker. How we doing, Potter?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
This is not Tennessee's first time. You've done a podcast with me before.
Yeah, it's my second rodeo.
Backed by popular demand.
There we go.
Everyone's like, bring back Tennessee. Last time we were talking bear tree and ambulance chasing and with Tom Carr, so that was a lot of fun. Today we wanted to hop on and do just a real practical, real quick episode on all things car insurance. Because if there's something that Tennessee and I see every single week, it's people that are coming in here who need our help, or asking for help, and there is just nothing we can do to help them because they got screwed by their insurance agent.
Yeah, it's a problem, like you said, that we see time in and time out. And I think there's a very easy solution. The problem is getting the solution out to the people that need it. And I think it stems from just a general lack of understanding of insurance and insurance coverages. People don't understand what they need. They don't understand what they have. And the people that are out there selling the product aren't far ahead of them in terms of their understanding, and they're not selling them the right products.
Yeah, and they're competing on price. And so people are just shopping around saying, what's the lowest price for quote unquote full coverage, which, as Tennessee and I talk about all the time, full coverage is not a thing. It's not real. There's no such thing as full coverage.
Correct. It's a term made up by the insurance industry to make you feel good about the low-cost product they're selling you that they make big margins on. Yeah. It's all it is.
Yeah, when someone comes in here and says, it's okay, I have full coverage, it is like code for, oh no, this person doesn't have hardly any insurance at all, probably.
9 times out of 10, the person with full coverage has minimum coverages, the minimum required by state law.
Yeah. Coverage exists for everybody, even for Tennessee and myself. We both carry quite a bit of insurance because of what we do for a living. We don't have full coverage. We have coverage up to a certain amount.
Correct. We have coverage that is based on taking some time, sitting down, making an informed decision as to what we believe we need to protect our family from the dangers that are out there and to protect ourselves in the event that we make a mistake and injure someone, which could certainly happen.
Yeah. So let's talk about the big three that, we talk to folks about this all the time. Our top 3 tips. Like if you're going to get one takeaway from this podcast, it's just these 3 things, and you take it and you text your agent or email your agent after this and say, hey, answer these 3 things for me. So I'm going to list the top 3 and then we'll break them down. First is underinsured motorist coverage insurance, or UIM. You will hear me in Tennessee say UIM a lot in this episode. UIM insurance is number 1. Number 2 is umbrella policies with UIM riders. Okay, there's that word UIM again, and we're going to break that down. And number 3 is PIP, or personal injury protection. And that one's a little bit more nuanced, but it's really important and it really helps people out when they're in a bind. So, underinsured motorist coverage, Tennessee, what is that and why is it so important?
So, underinsured motorist coverage is the coverage you're paying for to protect yourself and your family from the traveling public. What most people think of in terms of car insurance is liability insurance. And that's insurance where if you cause a wreck, that's the amount of insurance you carry to cover any damages that you do to the third person. And when your agents generally are selling insurance, that's what they're talking to you about. There's a good chance that when you bought your insurance, nobody even spoke to you about underinsured motorist coverage. And actually, underinsured motorist coverage, we call it UIM. It really protects 2 different classes in 2 different situations. One is uninsured motorist.
Right.
So it's really UM and UIM. The second is the underinsured. And the uninsured piece is very important because the statistics out there bear out that in Texas right now, roughly 20% of the people driving on the roads, despite the fact that the law says they all have to have insurance coverage, are fully and completely uninsured. And then So you carve off 20%, you've got 80% left that are following the rules by having some insurance. The vast, vast majority of them have minimum coverage, probably because they were told to buy this full coverage. It provided them minimum policy limits, which isn't going to cover much. Yeah. So you got to protect your family.
And minimum coverage for one person hurt in a car accident is $30,000. That was set at the state level 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at that. I want to say the statute was last updated in the 80s. Don't quote me on that, but it's been a long time. And it was based on medical costs being lower, the cost of cars being lower. All those numbers have just sat there. They haven't been updated with inflation and with the times changing.
There's no CPI floater on that.
Absolutely not.
$30,000, in case you haven't noticed, doesn't go as far as it used to. So like Tennessee said, only 80% of the people have liability insurance. And a vast majority of those, I'd venture to say 75% of them have minimum limits.
Easily. I mean, I probably would take the over on that, but that's a good barometer.
Yeah, and so here with UIM insurance, you can control your own destiny to some extent. Like you don't have to rely on getting lucky, and hoping that the person that hit you happens to have a lot of liability insurance, which most likely, like we said, they do not. And so if you go buy that UIM insurance, you can protect yourselves from that scenario.
Correct. Yeah, insurance it's fascinating. Obviously, it is at the core of everything that we do, and it's kind of ironic that we're here really pushing business for insurance companies. Yeah. We want you to buy insurance, although I could go on and on about how I disagree with the way they operate as a company. But part of that and part of the disagreement is you see all these commercials on TV and they're fantastic at marketing. I mean, they are, I laugh at insurance commercials. They're great.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
But what they are not is informative. Yeah. They're selling a product, but they're promoting it without telling you anything about it, telling you the important pieces of it that you really need. And that's because what they want you to do is they want you to treat it as a low-cost product, something that I should be trying to save money buying insurance. And that's just the polar opposite of how you should look at it.
Yeah.
It's save money on your lattes, save money on your discretionary items. Protecting your family should not be discretionary. It's something you should put a lot of thought into. You should understand what you're buying. And to do that, you have to be a diligent consumer because the insurance company on TV, the insurance agent down the road, they're not going to do a good job of explaining to you the products and what you really need. They want to sell you their high margin, low coverage products. What they don't tell you is as you start to increase your coverages and increase the amount of protection you're giving yourself and your family, the increments as you go up, yes, they cost more, but not a lot more and not enough of a difference where you should say it's worth risking my family's future and health.
Yeah. That's a great point. You're hating on lattes over there, but it's ironic because you hear this a lot, like for the price of a latte per day, you can get all this. And what's really interesting actually is in preparation for this episode, I looked at my own insurance and, Tennessee and I are open books about this kind of stuff. We're happy to talk to you about what we have insurance wise for our families. But I broke down the cost on these three different things and totaled all of it up. And it came out to like $3 a day for what I'm talking about here. It's super cheap. You might say, okay, well, I have health insurance, so why do I really care about car insurance? Health insurance only covers medical stuff, medical bills. It doesn't cover everything else associated with an injury. Lost earning capacity. If you can't work, and that's not just lost wages. Don't want to get too nuanced here, but if you lose the capacity to make the same earnings you had before the wreck, you're entitled to recover that from the person who caused the car accident, for example. Pain and suffering, mental anguish, disfigurement, physical impairment, what we call the real damages, like the real problems associated with a massive injury. None of those are covered by health insurance.
Yeah. I mean, health insurance, we're certainly not here to tell you don't get health insurance. Please do.
Oh, absolutely.
It fills a very important need, but it is minimally, if at all, overlaps with the need to have proper coverages on your auto insurance policy. Like Travis mentioned, there's so many damages out there that go beyond medical costs that aren't covered by health insurance. Beyond that, with health insurance, you're biting off a deductible, you're biting off an out-of-pocket maximum, and in many cases, that's well above $10,000 out of pocket in order to receive the full benefit of your health insurance. And so you can save a lot of money paying for proper liability insurance and underinsured motorist insurance that can offset having to come out of pocket for the deductible and the out-of-pocket max on your health insurance. And then you also have the protection through the proper liability and underinsured motorist coverage for all of these additional real damages. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be in the hospital for an extended period of time, which is a real possibility if you're in a wreck, you're probably also not going back to work right away.
Yeah.
Many people, families depend on them to be able to work. There's just so many things. That health insurance, while great to have, it's not going to leave you where you need to be, which is back on your feet and not in a bad financial position at the end of a recovery from a wreck.
Yep, 100%. So, T-Dub, how much UIM insurance should somebody carry?
My recommendation is at least $250,000. And under Texas law, you should never insure the public for more than you insure yourself, meaning don't carry a bunch of liability coverage and very little underinsured motorist coverage. But the law does require that you carry at least the same amount. So you can't insure yourself for infinitely more than you insure the public. So I recommend at least $250,000 in liability coverage and $250,000 in UIM coverage. And the $250 number is because that's a qualifying minimum amount of coverage to buy an umbrella policy from almost every carrier on the market.
Right, correct. And we'll get to umbrellas in a second. And this UIM policy, by the way, it's not just for yourself. It covers your household, your kids, family members. It covers you when you're a pedestrian, when you're in a vehicle. It does not cover you when you're on an e-bike. We talked about that on a previous episode. Insurance companies are smart about excluding things that are way too dangerous. But I digress. So you recommend at least $250. It's no secret that you and I both carry $500.
Correct. Yeah.
I looked at my policy this morning. Do you know what I pay a month? So farmers, you and I both have farmers.
Yep.
Not saying farmers is the best. It's just we happen to have good relationships with our agents, and that's who we both have, different agents. But on my farmer's policy, it breaks it out per like vehicle to show the premiums that you pay. And I was looking on it, and for one vehicle for $500,000 UIM insurance, you know how much it costs per month?
$10.
$16.
Yeah, I figured it'd be between 10 and 20.
$16 for $500,000 worth of the most important insurance that Tennessee and I talk about every single week. So guys, just do me a favor. Don't think bad stuff cannot happen to you and your family. Yep. We have story after story after story. I mean, we're talking about one yesterday. This guy came in, super smart guy. I mean, you talk about him. I mean, he's
as a gentleman that I've known for a very long time. He's multiple degrees. He's educated, works and does a lot of consulting and expert work in a different field, not personal injury field, but someone who you would think of as an informed consumer, a smart man who's going to put a lot of thought into everything that he does, and also into passing down the knowledge that to his kids that they need to be successful in life. Just really a wonderful human being. And his daughter, who was an adult at the time, early 20s, was in a very, very bad wreck. She had someone who ran a red light and broadsided her, spent about a month in the hospital, multiple surgeries, roughly a year probably to get back on her feet. Just an absolutely life-altering situation. Thank goodness she wasn't killed. So they come to us, and the dad comes to me and meets with, I think, Travis and I, and he says, we've told her, thankfully, in Texas, everybody has to have insurance. So, you just worry about getting better, and this is going to be okay financially.
Yeah.
And I had to sit there and explain to him that not everybody has full coverage because full coverage isn't a thing. Yeah. And there's a good chance the person who hit your daughter may not even have insurance. As it turns out, I believe they did have minimum coverage, but they had $30,000. And on her policy, all that they had was the $30,000 standard UIM that you get if it's not rejected in writing. Mm-hmm. So there's a total of $60,000 of coverage for hospital bills that push seven figures. Not to mention not being able to work and a year's worth of therapy coming out of the hospital. Just an absolute tragic situation. And here's an intelligent man who wants to do right by his daughter. And, he's blaming himself because he's given her a false sense of security in the hospital. Don't worry about this piece of it. And he said, now I've got to go tell her, that there's financial strain and we have to work through that. Just, it compounds an already bad situation. And we see it time in and time out. It spans, high school educated to doctors and PhDs. The lack of information on this is equal among them. It's not something that blue collar or white collar. Doesn't matter what color you wear. You need to know this information, and it's hard to find it because the insurance industry doesn't want you to have it.
Yeah. And there are good insurance agents out there. I mean, we keep, we actually have a list of the ones we've come across in the last 10 years that you can just notice in the file, this agent did a good job by taking care of this family.
Absolutely.
Or people that we personally know. I mean, we have a list of, 50, 75 agents that we would personally recommend.
But you got to find someone who's proactive and wants to learn about what they're selling, because the industry, they silo their sales force from their operations, and they inform their salespeople with what they want them to be informed of to sell. And so the good agents out there know that what's available for them to sell is much different than the things they're kind of pushed to sell on a primary basis. And so the ones that go out and really learn, okay, what do I really have in my arsenal, so to speak, or inventory to sell to my clients when they come in. And, this product that I didn't learn much about when I was being taught to be an agent, what is it?
Right.
And would it really help my clientele? You've got to have the agent that's out there asking those questions and really trying to be differentiated from the general insurance sales force. Yeah.
I mean, if you're an agent listening to this podcast, like, just take it to heart and reach out to your clients and be like, hey, I noticed you have this particular policy. Let's talk about it, because I think there's a really good reason to increase your UIM insurance. I mean, just look around on the roads with all the distracted driving. Texas has terrible drunk driving statistics. We're one of the worst states in the country for both of those things, by the way. And we're one of the worst states in the country for the amount of people without insurance, like you've kind of already alluded to. So people are out there on the roads in a very vulnerable state. And so I think it would mean the world to a client to get a call from an agent, be like, hey, what I'm about to tell you might cost you $12 a month, but I really think you're going to appreciate this conversation.
100%. And I mean, on the agent side too, it's a little bit of a digression from what we're talking about today, but also on the property coverage side. I mean, we talked about $30,000 being the minimum for bodily injury.
How much does a new car cost these days?
Yeah, and the minimum for property is $25,000. I mean, So as an agent, if somebody pulls up in your lot in a nice vehicle and you're selling them minimum coverage, you should know you're not selling them enough insurance to replace their car if they get in a bad wreck.
Yeah.
So, just have those conversations and start to change the thought process and narrative of I'm selling a low-cost product to I'm selling something that could be the lifeline these people need when tragedy strikes.
100%. All right, so that's number one, UIM insurance. Call your agent and get as much UIM insurance as you possibly can. Number two, an extension of UIM. Like Tennessee said, if you get at least $250,000 worth of underlying car insurance, your liability and your UIM, then you can get an umbrella that sits on top of that. Umbrellas typically are $1 million of coverage. It's what you see most often for individuals. And again, this product is super, super cheap. The reason car insurance companies sell it for such a good price, because, it takes a pretty decent sized accident to get into that level of coverage. And so hopefully you don't have to use it, but it's very good in case you need it.
Yeah, I think umbrella is really a good term.
Yeah.
I mean, it is there. You carry an umbrella in your car all the time, and the amount of times that you really, really need that umbrella are pretty minimal. But, when it's raining cats and dogs and you've got to go across the parking lot, it's you thank the Lord that you have it.
Right.
And in terms of the coverage piece here, most wrecks that we see are not causing damages sufficient to get into an umbrella layer. I mean, that's the honest truth. And that, thankfully, otherwise we'd have a lot more people dying on our roads, and we already have enough of that.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, to have that coverage, it's that, moment that's going to allow you to sleep well for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If your loved one or yourself, you're the person that's in the hospital, you were hit by somebody who has no coverage or $30,000, you have to use the jaws of life to get you out of the car. you're care flighted to the hospital, you're there for 6 weeks and multiple surgeries, and it's a year-long recovery process. Not having that umbrella, when you get to the end of that year-long process, the other piece of the law you're going to be learning about is bankruptcy law.
Yeah.
But if you have the umbrella and you planned for the worst case scenario and you spent that little additional money like you talked about per month to protect yourself and protect your family, you're able to focus on your recovery, get back on your feet, and be in, the same position you were before. Not take a step back and not have that additional financial stress hanging over your head.
Yeah, but remember, if you do go out and buy an umbrella, make sure you tell your agent, I want it to include UIM insurance. Like, do not just say, I want an umbrella, because I promise you, you will most likely see a liability-only umbrella.
100%. Yep.
So for Tennessee and I both have $1 million umbrellas with UIM riders. Mine costs $2 a day.
Yeah, I haven't done the math on mine, but it's got to be about that. I know I have in the past, and it was minimal. I think I looked at it on a monthly basis, not a per day basis, but that sounds about right.
So for those doing the math at home, I think we're up to about $2.50 per day. So still not the price of that latte Tennessee was talking about. But yeah, just imagine like something bad happens to someone in your family, but being able to walk into that room and say, guys, I know the person who caused this left the scene or doesn't have insurance or whatever, but I took care of this. I took the steps necessary before this happened, and I protected you. Like, we got this because of this decision we made, which takes 2 seconds to go get that umbrella.
Yep.
It's just a matter of just being responsible and protecting your loved ones. Third, PIP versus MedPay. This is probably something that most people don't think about on a day-to-day basis, like you and I do.
True. This is a little more. This is a little more drilling down to a more granular level. But
PIP, wasn't that the character in Great Expectations? PIP. You're an English major.
Yeah, minor, not a major. Minor.
Okay.
But close.
Hey, we got trivia coming up on Friday. You better freshen up.
Okay, I'm afraid I may not shine.
I'm the trivia host at PLG's Christmas party this Friday. We have some spots remaining if anybody out there wants to come. All right, PIP versus MedPay. So, Tennessee, take it away. What's PIP? What's MedPay?
So, PIP is an acronym for Personal Injury Protection Coverage. MedPay is a shortened version of medical payments coverage. Both of those fall into the same initial category, which is no-fault insurance coverage. And so these are coverages that you can buy as add-ons. They have lower limits available to purchase. PIP is usually $2,500 as your baseline level. You can get 5, you can get up to 10, and you can go higher than that. It's kind of an emerging trend, actually, where they're selling higher levels of PIP. I don't know that I have a really formulated opinion on that, but I do recommend $10,000 of PIP. Now, going higher than that, I'd have to think more about it.
I tried mine. It's not available for me. I don't know if farmers would say more than 10, but yeah, we see more than that just occasionally.
Yeah, it's very rare, but it seems like in the last 2020, I guess the year 2025, I've probably seen more PIP limits above 10,000 than I've ever seen. Now that's still probably like 10 times in the year, it's not super prevalent. MedPay, similar type of limits that you can buy, but the major difference here is PIP is a non-subrogable product. MedPay is subrogable.
That's got to be the first time that word's ever been used on a podcast.
Well, and we'll break it down. It's not a word we use every day. So basically what it means is with MedPay, you could be paying really just to have the right to get a short-term loan from your insurance carrier. So you get in a wreck, whether it's your fault or not. Let's take the situation where it's not your fault, but it's going to take a while to hold the other party responsible or determine if they've got coverage or not. You've got an ER bill that's $5,000. You can submit that, and the MedPay coverage will pay it. Now, if you go down the road and you hold the other person that caused this responsible, and you get a recovery for them under MedPay, they're going to say, remember that loan I gave you to cover that initial bill? I'd like that back out of your settlement. And so that's what subrogation is I gave a gift, but I have the right to take it back, and they will exercise it.
Yep.
PIP is non-subrogable, which means it is something that once it is paid out And it's also a broader category of coverage than MedPay. MedPay is literally just medical payments coverage, so medical expenses. PIP covers medical expenses at 100%, just like MedPay does, and then 80% of lost wages and household services and other things like that. If you had to have somebody come in to clean your house because you can't do it.
Correct.
So it's a broader scope of coverage. Both are no fault.
Child care could help you with child care.
Child care as well. And PIP, again, once they pay it, even if you go get a recovery against the person who ultimately caused this down the road, they don't have the right to say, give me my money back. This is an additional for the premiums I pay per month. If this wreck happens and I submit the proper paperwork to document it, you owe it to me. And I can move on down the road. I can still try to hold the other person responsible. And I don't have to worry about you coming back and saying, now I want my loan back.
Yeah, that's correct. It's far superior product to MedPay. And what's interesting is, of course, it doesn't cost much more than MedPay. So don't waste your time with MedPay. Focus on PIP. Talk to your agent about that. I looked at mine. Again, my PIP costs $10,000 worth of PIP. It's like 75 cents per day, something crazy.
No, it's minuscule.
Yeah. So if you're doing the math at home, we're up to like $3, $3.25 per day to get pretty darn good coverage to protect you and your family.
Yep. And you mentioned earlier, if you're an agent listening to this, don't sell MedPay.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing too, speaking of agents, if you're out there and let's say you were in a car accident or something, and don't assume you don't have UIM insurance or PIP. Okay, the insurance company has to offer those things, and if you reject them, they have to get that rejection in writing. And if they can't produce them, we do see this from time to time. The insurance company cannot produce the written rejection. Yep. And so then they have to offer the coverage. I believe it's $30,000 for UIM and $2,500 for PIP.
Yeah. So per law, if they can't produce a written rejection signed by the insured, then it defaults to UIM coverage that matches the state minimum limits, which is $30,000 of coverage, and $2,500 in PIP. And even recently, we have had a case where the failure to produce that rejection, the carrier honored coverage for UIM commensurate with or equal to the liability coverage that had been purchased, which was more than $30,000.
Right.
Which was, hey, if we're going to criticize insurance companies for when they do things that are wrong, I think it was a very fair policy to their consumer,
absolutely,
to the client.
Yeah. Yeah. Occasionally we see them doing the right thing. Someone, it's funny, the other day I was listening to the radio and they were talking about why car insurance commercials, why do they have the best commercials?
They have the most money.
They got a lot of money. They take a lot of premiums and they don't pay out claims as often as they should. But that is why we are here. And that is what we do for a living is make them pay those claims. All right, Tennessee, anything else people need to know about car insurance before I let you get back to work?
Oh, man. I'm sure there's quite a bit, but I think that's enough to think about for now. And just, I kind of leave it with the thought of, don't insure your family and yourself for less than you insure the public. And to your point, call your agent, make sure you've got uninsured motorist coverage and at least $250,000 of it. Certainly more than minimums, and PIP coverage, and go get that umbrella.
Yeah. And something I tell people too, we do free insurance reviews too. So if you want to just log onto your account and see what coverage you have, take a screenshot or whatever and send it over to us. We'll tell you what we think.
Yep.
Happy to help. All right, Tennessee, thanks.
You bet. Enjoyed it.
If you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast and don't forget to leave us a review. It really does help us get the word out. As we dive into these important conversations about safety and about community, I'm reminded of why I became a personal injury lawyer in the first place. Every single day, I see people whose lives have been turned upside down because of some accident in one form or another. It's a confusing and overwhelming time, and it can feel impossible for folks to know where to turn. If you or someone you love have been in an accident like that and you need honest guidance, give us a call. We'll get to know you, we'll get to know your story, and we will be with you every step of the way. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.